Welcome to another day in the Matrix. Waters above crypto. Today is a green pill for the cryptocurrencies while the dollar index continues to show weakness. XRP and Bitcoin are setting up to make a big move soon. As Bitcoin dominance slips to that 45% level, it's signaling that the altcoins are about to make some big moves next week. And also in today's video, we're going to do some Wyckoff method analysis on Cardano, for those of you that have been wanting some extra TA on altcoins. So if you're new here, we do cryptocurrency technical analysis and combine it with the esoteric science of Gematria, Numerology, and Astrology to understand these markets. If you haven't already subscribed and you like what we're doing here, feel free to subscribe. Give this video a like and share this channel with other conscious people to help grow this community. And for those of you that want to learn how to do technical analysis and combine it with Gematria, you can join my mastermind course. There's a promo code in the pinned comment below with instructions to get lifetime access to the course with a discount. My email is in the description box to get in contact with me for access to the course. And with that being said, let's take the red pill. So if you remember in yesterday's video, I was discussing the 5-7 and 5-8 date numerologies for May 7th and May 8th. And I just wanted to remind you guys about one of our most important number 58s, coming back to XRP. Not going to be really doing any decoding today, but just reminding you. Would not be surprised if tomorrow on May 8th, the 5-8 date numerology, we see something big happen for XRP. Be getting into some of the TA to discuss why that's highly probable. So let's look at this dollar index really quickly because we're definitely seeing a change of character in the market. This is the USD currency index on the daily chart, the DXY. And the reason why I keep referencing this, especially at times like this when we're in the middle of a cryptocurrency bull run, is because the dollar index is the world reserve, well, the US dollar is the world reserve currency, and it's showing weakness, and that could be because of introduction of CBDCs, particularly the digital yuan. Again, if you're not really well versed in what that is, I'm willing to make content on that in the future, but I would assume anyone who's found my channel and or been sold on the future of cryptocurrency is because you're trying to protect yourself against fiat. And as you see here, fiat is not doing too well. The world reserve currency is continuing to death spiral, and we've been seeing it on a consistent downtrend for over a full year now, all the way up at 102 around the end of the March crash, when basically right around the early March time zone, all the investors flooded into dollars because they were trying to buy that dip. And then there was a consistent downtrend since then. So as I zoom in, you're going to see that we're forming potential head and shoulders here. This could be the left shoulder, head, right shoulder is in formation. But today to see the dollar index down 0.6% is pretty brutal. And the traditional markets are reacting to that. And of course, crypto is going to react to that. As the dollar does bad, as the DXY is in the red and continues to move to the downside, the bull run will continue, and that's a good thing. So that's why this is one of those indicators that I do look for. One thing to bring up would be this 21 EMA showed a rejection. Let's pull up the 8 and 55, and you're seeing this cross that I've been telling you guys time and time again. Whenever this 8 crosses below the 55 EMA on the daily, this cross puts us on a new downtrend, and if it has some juice to push to the upside, it usually gets trapped between these two moving averages until it's ready to make a decision. Now, what's going on here is there's a trend line that we are falling out of that I drew moving from back here at the lows in the beginning of the year. If you guys remember right here, this was probably the greatest time to buy any cryptocurrency around early January. And then the trend reversed, and then we've seen since around April a consistent downtrend in the DXY, similarly to the Bitcoin dominance chart. So this is significant that we're closing outside of this trend line, and I would anticipate if a candle body close today is outside of this trend line, we're going to look for a double bottom scenario around 89, which would be right around here. And if it could close outside of this red trend line on a daily, I'm anticipating this bull run is going to continue. It's going to be insane, and yeah. But if this pulls back, has a double bottom, there might be a little bit of a precarious structure moving into June. So that's another conversation. So one thing also to notice is the 10-year yield, the bonds, and we are seeing a structure that if we move back to around when the March crash happened, leading into the March crash, there was a resistance around this zero point 0.5 fib. We had a nice run up into the zero point 0.5 fib, didn't quite get there, but now we're seeing a little bit of a problem where this white and yellow are going to cross like I just explained, and that should create further downside pressure for the bonds. And yep, this is just setting up for a very bullish market. Let's look at the Dow all-time high. It's just crazy. S&P 500 all-time high. So how is this possible? How are we seeing all-time highs in the stock market whilst humanity is suffering economically? There's some detachment here that is so obvious and so blatant, and it's because the Federal Reserve is just printing infinite money and giving it to their homies on Wall Street, and it's not going to stop. And we were sold on this idea from the mainstream media that with a democratic leadership that they would be for the people, and the people aren't part of the stock market, therefore that the money would be removed from the stock market and given to the people. And that is absolutely not what we're seeing. So whoever was saying that, they don't know what they're talking about, because the New World Order plays both sides. They play red and blue. And for anyone who's asleep to that, it's time to wake up, guys. One other thing to note is the NASDAQ popping up. If the NASDAQ wants to close above this yellow, that'll be incredible for cryptos, because NASDAQ is mostly tech sector, and tech sector is what all these cryptos run on. So anyways, I'll move on. It might be boring for some people to know this information, but the people who watch my channel, you're going to have an edge, especially if you join the Mastermind course, because we're going over all this stuff in harmony, and we don't need news. We don't need to look at Elon Musk's Twitter. We have the charts, we have the facts. We don't need the broken compass, northeast, west, south news. We don't need that. And get away from that shit. It's just numbing everyone's mind. It's making you asleep. So let's move on to Bitcoin. Seeing something really nice here with Bitcoin. I'm going to remove this VPVR, and I'm just going to get into the main note, which I was talking about all last week, which is a potential for this cross bullish where the yellow goes above the white, where the 8 exponential moves above the 55 exponential. This is a continuation. So if you look back here, back to September, the last time we saw this, where we got a cross of the yellow below the white, it was sideways and sort of bearish. And then once we got that cross of that yellow above that white, it just melted. So once that 55 and 8 cross on the bullish side, the price just went from around 10,500 to 40,000. And that's actually sort of the move I'm anticipating next for Bitcoin. I'm anticipating once Bitcoin has gotten out of this consolidation range and plants new highs, it's probably going to bust all the way to 6 figures. So it's just going to move straight to 100,000. Of course, there'll be turbulence at the 72,000 level. There'll probably be some turbulence at the 80,000 level. But I think it's probably just going to have a premature blow off top, hit that 100,000, maybe go up as high as like 117,000. Again, this is all using Gematria. I could show you really quickly just so you could see what I mean. So Bitcoin equals 117 and 72, and like I've been saying, I anticipate it hitting 72,000 very soon, probably in June. Before June would be even more probable, given that the dollar index continues to move to the downside. And then ultimately, I'm seeing this $117,000 in the cards. And that would align with a lot of things like logarithmic growth curve chart, Fibonacci retracement, extensions to the upside, etc. So what would happen if Bitcoin melts up to 100,000? It'll probably regain a little bit of its dominance, but then once it pulls back into the like mid-June month, it'll pull back significantly, probably as much as 35, maybe even 40%, depending. And the altcoins are going to go insane. Again, if Bitcoin just remains sideways and even pulls to the downside and continues to lose dominance as the rest of the market is green, we'll see across the board XRP will probably hit $4. Things like Theta will hit 20, etc. It'll be crazy bullish for the altcoins. But until then, we haven't really gotten that closure yet in regards to market structure. So one other thing to take note of is if I show the 21 EMA, we are seeing that we're holding above the 21 EMA nicely. 2 days ago, we had this violent sell-off, but again, that was ritual because the next day on the 5/5 date numerology, it got bought right back up, bullish engulfing candle. The next day, back tested the 21, confirmed. Today, back tested the 21 again. If you look, these candles are almost identical, these two, and then yesterday and today. So I would not be surprised if once today's daily close comes in for the traditional markets, if you start seeing Bitcoin and all the other altcoins start moving to the upside, which isn't really that great because there was a CME gap for Bitcoin around the 60,000s, if I remember correctly. Right here, you see these two green lines. That was the gap that formed. And again, I'm not like a gap believer, but typically these gaps fill when they're on the upside. So we're in a bull run. These gaps fill to the upside. So at least a 61,400 Bitcoin on the CME chart, I would expect that by next week. Again, everyone who's been following my work, I've been talking about next week is the 19th week and the 19th significance coming back to Taurus. So this Taurus, because we're in Taurus zodiac and also we are in the year of the ox in Chinese astrology, I guess, we'll just call it like that. Anyways, let's just move on past this to XRP because I do want to go over that Wyckoff analysis with everyone on Cardano. So like I was telling everyone, we can have this golden pocket rejection like we saw yesterday and still not create new highs. Why? Because we need to wait until we have a close above the golden pocket. So I was telling everyone, be cautious buying into these pumps because sometimes there could be an M pattern that forms and even come down as low as the 236. I'm not saying it will happen. I'm saying it does happen. It's very normal in structure. So what happens if today out of nowhere we just have a super bearish weekend? It's possible. We've seen Friday night close a couple weeks ago, if I remember correctly. We saw every altcoin hit all-time highs and then right after that melt down, huge losses. So I'm just telling you guys, it's normal. This sell-off was violent, 53%. So it's not impossible, and I just mentioned what I mentioned to keep you guys on your toes. So one other thing that I was mentioning was on this chart right here, we had our prediction box target, and I was telling everyone I'm expecting by May 14th or May 15th, we should have a new yearly high price. So by May 14th or May 15th, I'm expecting a $2 XRP. Now, the ultimate upside target in my prediction videos, I was saying was $2.70 because it's in confluence with the 1618, which is the golden ratio in Fibonacci, and also the 4236 of the previous fractal. Again, when you guys started following along my work, it was when I was drawing out this previous chart down here. You can see it's kind of smushed now because we've gotten so high up. But the long and short of it is I pulled a fib from around here on November 24th down to this SEC dump here on December 29th. And then when we got that rejection of the golden pocket right here, we formed a handle, or sorry, we formed this sort of backup phase before continuation. So the way that I was looking at it was using Wyckoff and also this huge cup and handle formation. So you had the cup right here, you had the handle, and then once we broke out of the handle, I knew that we were going to start heading up to $1. I was very adamant about that in all those videos back in early March. You can go back and watch those if you want to catch up on the way that I was doing analysis back then, because it's really no different than the way that I'm approaching this market today. I'm just approaching this market slightly different today because of where we're at as a world. Lots of things going on in the background, you know, ATMs coming out with like hand scanners on them and shit. So we just have a lot to consider moving forward in this future we have, but that's another story. So one other thing to mention was this MACD is looking to, well, it has crossed bullish, but I would expect some juice to come in, mostly because the RSI has been chilling. And above 61, that's really good. There's a lot of room to the upside for XRP, and we all know how XRP works. It just picks a day that it wants to bust open, and it does. It's insane. So the number 14 has been showing up a lot in XRP. Again, this date right here, April 5th, was a 14 date numerology. And then also this day right here, the 14th of April, and then the previous all-time high for XRP where it hit over $3 was on the date January 4th, again, 1-4. And this is just like textbook how ritual the number 14 is with XRP. So again, I'm just picking, I'm saving brain power, and I'm just going ahead and saying May 14th is when I'm expecting to see upside. And between now and then, we just have to wait to see a daily closure above this golden pocket area, so above $1.73, and that should give juice for continuation. And you need to see highs after something like that, though, because you don't want a double top scenario. But I'm not anticipating this right now because of the way that the traditional market's going, the way that the dollar index keeps falling. This market is setting up bullish for next week, almost with 90% certainty. So let's get into Cardano. I'm going to pick this other chart. It is kind of an annoying chart because it has a liquidation event on the Kraken exchange. So just disregard this. I'm going to pull off all the indicators. It's unnecessary. So something that we were seeing here with the Cardano chart was this support line holding very nicely up until that quick dramatic sell-off last week, 2 weeks ago. And then the reason why this bottom trend line is so crucial is because you can see when we moved into it, we started treating it as resistance. And then out of nowhere, it just busted through. But we have to remember, this is like, you know, maybe 95% through the apex of this ascending triangle. And that's just, you know, this was cutting it close anyways. So the entries would have been anything outside of this range. But now I'm going to remove... I'm going to lighten these actually because I like these on my chart for my own personal use. And then I'm just going to show you guys what I'm seeing now using Wyckoff. So quickly, Wyckoff phases are really great. They're super easy once you kind of wrap your head around how they all work. And the most important phases are this, the SC, which is a selling climax, and then the automatic rally, which is the reaction into having a fast sell-off. Again, we were exposing that all last week in regards to how this market structure is played out, and it's working perfectly. Then you have these dips back, which are called supply tests, and you could even have bigger dips, and some people would call this a spring action. What I'm focused on now is how we've moved out of phase C with Cardano. So typically the way this would work is you have right here is your buying climax. This is when everything starts. I'm going to make this a little bit. So right here, this is when everything like kind of starts, when you see things are pumping above what they should be doing. You could use RSI to determine that. Again, if I pull up RSI, you can see right here around this time, it was sitting at almost 90 on the RSI. That's overbought, and after that, you just anticipate corrections. So right here would be called the buying climax, and then it comes down into what's called the selling climax, and then right after that selling climax, you have a dramatic buyback. You could see that happen right here. And that's what this phase right here is. So remember, you have your all-time high, rejection into selling climax, and then automatic reaction. That's what this moment is. Now you need to save where your selling climax was, and I could denote that. And then you need to save where your automatic rally is, and I'm going to show you why. This is really easy TA, and this stuff could be really helpful for people. Okay, so what we're seeing right now is the resistance line, and then we have here at the selling climax, we have a support line. Now, why is this important, right? Because it's telling me where the dips are probably going to come back to and where the shakeouts are going to move up to. So we have this automatic rally, and you see how much time it took until we hit the top of this trend line again, a full calendar month. And then we get rejected on it for 3 straight candles. And then what happens? Another big rejection where? Right down into the area of where the selling climax was. So this is like textbook stuff, guys. If you just save where these two events happen, the automatic rally, resistance, and the selling climax support, draw your horizontal trading range as such, and you could play around in this area for a while. In this case, Cardano was pretty boring. It took 70 days essentially to break out of this box territory, and now it's getting exciting again. And you notice how right before it breaks out, it enters this sort of phase right here where it has a little bowl, a little backup phase. Well, that's exactly what happens. So after the lows, the accumulation bottom, you enter phase D. And these moments here, this says LP, but it's LPS, like a last point of support and or last point of supply, however you want to look into that. And then you have BU, like backup, or some people would call it a buying opportunity, BO. It just depends on the way that you do your Wyckoff analysis when you're labeling these moments. Anyways, these backup moments are the best. So let's look at where we are currently at right now. We are in this phase where we've broken out of the box, and this is called an SOS, which is called sign of strength. Now this sign of strength is showing me that we will have most likely a backup, and a backup would move naturally to this range right here, right into this trend line. And it could look like this, where we have a W, and then we continue to the upside. This moment right here is the greatest time to make entries because that's typically when you have the lowest or you've waited the longest in the cycle in the accumulation range to get the most reward out of the amount of time you have to wait. So this is 95% before a massive move to the upside, buying right here. And it's not going to make a big of a difference if you buy right now, honestly, because the potential upside to this is massive. Now, to figure out the upside, it's very easy. I would just go from where the buying climax happened and pull it down to whatever the spring was, which is this wick right here on April 24th. And you can see we're going to naturally gravitate probably to this $1.83 level, maybe get rejected, and then come back to this trend line. That would be textbook. And if you see where this trend line would come back into this area, it'll most likely backtest this previous wick right here. So that's something to take note of, around the 155 area. This whole $1.50, $1.60 will be the best buying opportunity. Now, after this backup phase, it starts going into phase E, which is just parabolic. So you see how this W formation is going? That's exactly what I showed you before. So maybe you come up into here, then you have this W thing going on, come above the 1618, back test the 1618, and then you move all the way up sometimes to the 4236. And judging by Cardano and what it's capable of, I would just go ahead and say like $5 is probably its next move, like somewhere around $4 to $5. So that's a lot of alpha. That's a big move to the upside. So anyways, this was a quick Wyckoff method TA for everyone. I am just trying to help everyone out to notice that these horizontal trading ranges take some time, and they're very crucial for people who are emotional in this market. Doing Wyckoff was one of the things that got me to get out of being so emotional to price action, because I was able to locate where I was in the structure and what would be coming next. It's why all last week I was able to determine that after we had that sharp sell-off right here, that we would have a quick buyback. This is called automatic reaction or automatic rally. And then down here you have supply tests. So until we close out of this, we're not out of the woods yet. Again, though, we're in crypto. The Wyckoff method is used in stocks and Forex, which is way less volatility. And it's something that could be applied to cryptocurrencies. It's easier with Bitcoin, and it's easier with cryptos that aren't so emotional. XRP is one of the most dramatic moving cryptos that exists in this sector. So it's something that's a lot harder to use with Wyckoff. But again, there's more than Wyckoff that we can use, and that's what I teach you guys in all my videos. So anyways, for those of you that are looking to learn more about technical analysis and combining it with Gematria, feel free to email me in the description box if you want to join the course. For anyone who joins Patreon and becomes a Patreon supporter, you will qualify for a discount on the course. All you have to do is email me your Patreon name, and I will help you get a discount for the Mastermind course. And with that being said, enjoy the rest of your Friday in the Matrix. Much love.